Dark Truth About Women, and here's why. Inspired by Arthur Schopenhauer. What if one of history's greatest philosophers held views about women so dark, so controversial, that they're still hotly debated today? Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century German philosopher, is best known for his bleak outlook on life, his belief in the will as the driving force behind human suffering, and yes, his notorious essay on women. But what exactly did Schopenhauer say, and why do some still find his claims disturbingly relevant? Let's take a closer look. Who was Schopenhauer? Arthur Schopenhauer was born in 1788 in what is now Poland. He was a brilliant but deeply pessimistic thinker, believing that human life was defined by suffering and desire. He saw the world as driven by a blind, irrational force he called the will, a sort of primal, unconscious drive in all living things. His masterpiece, The World as Will and Representation, laid the groundwork for existentialism, psychoanalysis, and even modern nihilism. But outside of metaphysics, Schopenhauer also wrote social commentaries, some of which have not aged well. One of those is the infamous essay titled On Women. In it, Schopenhauer makes bold, sweeping generalizations, calling women childish, short-sighted, and incapable of genius. Harsh? Yes. Unfair? Definitely. But let's not rush to judgment without understanding the full picture. What did Schopenhauer actually say? In On Women, Schopenhauer argues that women are naturally inclined to deceit, emotional manipulation, and superficiality. He writes, "Women are by nature meant to obey." He believed they were less rational, less moral, and less intellectually capable than men. Why? Because in his view, women's nature was entirely dictated by biology and reproduction. He saw them as bound to the cycle of birth and raising children, making them, in his eyes, less interested in truth or abstract thought. He even claimed that women had no real capacity for art, science, or philosophy. It's not subtle, it's not kind, and yes, it's deeply sexist. But was Schopenhauer just a bitter bachelor with a personal grudge? Or was there more to his reasoning? Schopenhauer's logic and misogyny. Schopenhauer's dark views on women are part of a larger philosophical framework. His belief in the will as the source of suffering led him to view life, and particularly sexuality, with disdain. He saw sexual desire as a cruel trick played by nature to keep the human race going, regardless of the individual's happiness. To him, women represented this biological trap. They were, in his words, the embodiment of the will to life, nature's agents of reproduction. In this sense, his hatred of women wasn't entirely personal, it was metaphysical. But that doesn't excuse it. It just means his sexism was baked into his entire worldview. Still, we have to ask, was Schopenhauer exposing a dark truth about women, or was he projecting his own bitterness and misogyny into his philosophy? The historical and cultural context. To be fair, Schopenhauer wasn't the only 19th century thinker with misogynistic views. In his time, women had virtually no rights. They couldn't vote, own property in many places, or attend university. Society viewed women as subordinate to men, and philosophy often reflected that. Even thinkers like Rousseau and Kant expressed sexist ideas. What makes Schopenhauer different is the extremity of his contempt. His words aren't merely reflective of his time, they go further, expressing a kind of metaphysical loathing for femininity itself. However, there's a danger in writing him off entirely. His bleak insights into human desire, suffering, and power dynamics do offer valuable critiques, even if his conclusions about women are deeply flawed. Why it still resonates today. So, Why are we still talking about this today? In part because Schopenhauer's views echo in some modern ideas, often without people realizing it. For example, parts of the so-called manosphere, online communities of men focused on dating and gender roles, borrow heavily from Schopenhauer's darker themes. The idea that women are driven by biology, incapable of loyalty, or fundamentally manipulative, these are echoes of Schopenhauer's thinking. On the flip side, feminist scholars have analyzed Schopenhauer to understand how deeply embedded misogyny has been in Western thought. His essay, On Women, serves as a case study in how philosophy has been used to justify inequality. The takeaway. So did Schopenhauer expose a dark truth about women? Number what he exposed was a dark truth about himself, and perhaps about the way philosophy can be twisted by personal pain and cultural prejudice. His essay doesn't reveal truths about women, but rather the dangers of generalization, dehumanization, and the misuse of intellectual authority. Still, grappling with thinkers like Schopenhauer is important, not to agree with them, but to understand the roots of ideas that still linger today, and to challenge them with reason, empathy, and evidence. In the end, Schopenhauer was a brilliant mind, but not an infallible one. And that perhaps is the most important truth of all.